There's, I guess it resonates with one of those headlines. Guilty. Aloha, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. It's funny, we were meeting with all the storytellers a little bit earlier this week, and we're talking about, like, do you resonate with your generation? We're like, no, I kind of feel like this, I kind of feel like that. So at the end of the day, I think it's all just human connection and being here. So thank you for being here. When I think about growing up in Hawaii, and I think about me growing up in Hawaii, it's not the typical, I was out in the sun all day, I was hiking, I caught that wave, it was awesome. I grew up in the back of an old theater called Diamond Head Theater. And this room was called the Green Room. And I distinctly remember my very first audition. I walked in, there's Mr. John sitting in the front. Look at the pianist. I'm as mild and as meek as Oh, we're going for the chorus, right? Sorry, I knew that. In my own little corner. Oh, we're going back from the beginning. Okay, I got it this time. I'm as mild. Okay, thank you. So let's just say it didn't go exactly as I had planned, and the Green Room became a place of sheer terror and fear. I remember being able to stand outside, and the walls were so thin so you could hear the person before you just belting at the top of their lungs, and my fear and anxiety is just growing inside my body. But eventually, the Green Room also became a room that I practiced, that I took voice lessons, I took tap lessons, and where I rehearsed for the kids' version of the main stage show. I actually became one of the most difficult phone calls on the list. Instead of try again next time, it started to become these elaborate, rejection compliment sandwiches, like, you were just a little too young, or we were going for someone a little bit taller, or the mom we cast was a blonde. And I was like, okay, thank you. I'll try again next time. Finally, after 3 years of auditions and 6 tries, I got into my 7th show, which was Cinderella, and I was cast in the ensemble, and it was probably one of the happiest days of my life. I remember standing in the Green Room for the first time, and I was like, this is it. I'm in a main stage show. And I could watch my body moving in the mirror and growing all the way from 7th grade to senior year in high school. Huge change happened in those years, but I did 8 shows at Diamond Head Theater, and finally I felt like I had built up the confidence to go to the land of possibilities, Los Angeles. Yes, so I moved to Los Angeles. I got into USC's acting program, and I started. My first day, my class was filled with movie star hopefuls. Everyone was hungry to be in Hollywood. And they were the most interesting classes I'd ever taken. Like, one time, we were standing in a room, we were holding hands, like grounding, and my professor was like, pass the heat. And we're like, what? Like, pass the heat from one palm to the other, to the other, to the other. And then we're like, okay. So we're all very serious, we're doing this. Every single time he was like, which direction did it come from? We got it wrong, it was the other direction. And we're like, oh my gosh, we're never gonna be an actor. Another time, oh gosh, there was a whole room that was completely empty, and we had to pretend as if it were fully equipped for a family of 5. It was legit. This was like the most intense acting program I'd ever been in. And I was like, yes, I'm ready for the spring musical auditions. So when the spring musical rolled around, I saw the list. There's a huge list of different shows that you can audition for, and I saw Cabaret. Cabaret is my all-time favorite musical. I've had a dream to play Sally Bowles my whole life. They did it at Diamond Head Theater when I was 14 years old, and I got cast as the Sally Bowles understudy. So I was very knowledgeable about who Sally was. I had downed a raw egg with Worcestershire sauce for that commitment to character, and I was ready to go for it. So I went for it, I gave it all I got, I looked at the cast list, and boom, my name was on there. But I was not cast as Sally Bowles. I was cast as a Kit Kat dancer, but I was still so happy to be part of a production. And so I finished my freshman year on a high that I had a new theater family and ready to come back even stronger for my sophomore year. So when sophomore year rolled around, I went after every single show I could possibly get my hands on, and it came with every single rejection I could possibly come back with. And I was thinking, like, God, like, I'm used to rejection. Like, this is part of the process. It's fine. But then I started to notice a trend. I noticed that every single character seemed to be cast as the racially accurate version of what the character was supposed to be. Like, I went to see Spring Awakening, and every single person in the cast was white. And I went to see West Side Story, and it was Hispanic and white. And I was thinking, like, what? I remember seeing, being in Hawaii and seeing Hairspray when a Japanese girl was the lead and a Filipino guy was playing the black guy. What's going on? And all of a sudden, it came to me. I'm ethnic. And I was thinking about, like, what? I am racially diverse and not fitting any of these characters. And it was a huge, mind-blowing moment for me. And so when I closed my eyes and I thought about every single character that I had dreamed of, Sally Bowles in Cabaret, Velma Kelly in Chicago, all of them were white. And so I joined the Modern Minority Theater Company, which was a theater company dedicated to people of color. We did plays from people of color. It was all actors of people of color. And by the end of the year, we had produced Krunk Fu Battle Battle and Water by the Spoonful. And I was like, great, this is great. And then when I sat down, I was like, this is not great. This is not my dream. And there were no roles for a Japanese, Chinese, Okinawan, Hawaiian, Hungarian, Romanian, English, German girl. And I was like, what do I do? So I said goodbye to my dream of performing, and I switched my major to journalism. And this was a whole new world for me too. It was very similar in my eyes. I was thinking storyteller, ability to connect with people, ability to connect with people. It was perfect. And all of a sudden I was on the other side, doing broadcast and audio and visual and written storytelling, and I fell in love with a whole new world. By the time I finished at USC, I graduated about a year into the pandemic. So I moved home and I thought, what now? Where do I go? What do I do? I ended up in news, and in my spare time, I finally, when the world started to open up again, decided to audition for a show. I went back to Diamond Head Theater, and I stood in the green room for the first time in years, looking in the mirror, and for the first time, seeing a woman. And I was auditioning for a chorus line, and Greg Zane looked at me and said, I think you're perfect for Sheila Bryant. And I was like, what? Me? She's this confident, radiant, amazing performer that doesn't care about what anybody thinks. I'm supposed to play her. And he was like, yes, you can do it. So I stood at Diamond Head Theater every night for 2 months, singing on the stage in a nude leotard with the bright spotlight on my body, being the most confident and beautiful and authentic me possible, a role that was traditionally played by someone that was white. But then I looked at myself and I thought, you can be whatever you want. And it inspired me to run for Miss Hawaii, which launched me into preparing for Miss America. When people thought about, what are you gonna perform on the Miss America stage? Like, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. I was like, I don't know. People were telling me, oh, you should do this song, you should do this song, you should do, and then I closed my eyes and thought about it, and I decided to cast myself as Sally Bowles. And I performed cabaret on the Miss America stage. And for the first time, I realized that our life is truly just a huge audition. And it's our choice in who we decide to give the power to. We have the power to cast ourselves in whatever role we want, whatever role that we decide. And that's exactly what I think my generation is. Generation of possibilities. Thank you so much.